You know, if you ever finally write Billy Preston's full history as a pop star, rock star, gospel star, a session musician, you'll have to talk about the good and the bad, the ugly. What a career he had, and he overcame a lot of challenges to become one of the most respected and in-demand players and singers of his generation, an associate member of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. A lot of people believe he was the main reason that the Beatles stayed together during their waiting years in '69 when he was asked to join the group and become a big part of the Beatles, what they call Get Back and Abbey Road projects. So we're going to be looking a general look at Billy Preston's career. It would take 400 hours of podcast to really cover it. But I want to just key on the main factors that developed him and celebrated him as an artist. Now, born William Everett Preston, September 2nd in Houston, 1946. His work encompassed many genres, including R&B, rock, soul, funk, and gospel. Preston was a top session keyboardist in the 1960s, during which he backed artists such as Little Richard, Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, the Everly Brothers, Reverend James Cleveland, the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones. He went on to achieve fame as a solo artist with hit singles such as That's the Way God Planned It, the Grammy-winning song Out of Space, Will It Go Around in Circles, Space Race, the massive classic Nothing from Nothing, and With You I'm Born Again. Additionally, Preston co-wrote You Are So Beautiful, which became a number 5 hit for Joe Cocker and a rock standard. Now, Preston is the only musician who's not a Beatle to be given credit on the Beatles' recording. The group's 1969 single Get Back was credited as The Beatles with Billy Preston. He continued to record and perform with other artists, notably George Harrison after the Beatles' breakup, Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones on many of the group's albums and tours during the 1970s. On May 12, 2021, some 15 years after his passing, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced that he would be inducted with the Musical Excellence Award. Now, born again in Houston, he moved to LA as a child with his mother, Robbie Lee Williams. Noted as a child prodigy, he was entirely self-taught and never had a music lesson. By the age of 10, he was playing organ on stage, backing several gospel singers such as Mahalia Jackson. At 11, Preston appeared on an episode of Nat King Cole's NBC TV show, singing the Fats Domino hit Blueberry Hill with Cole. He also appeared in St. Louis Blues, the 1958 W.C. Handy biopic starring Nat King Cole. Preston played Handy at a younger age. In '62, he joined Little Richard's band as an organist, and it was while performing in Hamburg that he met the Beatles. In '63, he played the organ on Sam Cooke's Nightbeat album and released his own debut album, 60-Year-Old Soul, for Cooke's SAR label. In '65, he released the album The Most Exciting Organ Ever and performed on the rock and roll show Shindig. In '67, he joined Ray Charles's band, and following this exposure, several musicians began asking Preston to contribute to their sessions. Now, a lot of people say this, and I'm saying this as a compliment and not diminishing either one of them, but he was like a black version of Ringo Starr. He got along with everybody, very amiable, but he was hiding some secrets with sexuality and addiction-wise that came out later on, just like Ringo. Sexuality was obviously heterosexual, but Ringo had a hard time dealing with relationships, just like Billy had, and they both had problems with drugs. But Billy, when he showed up, and you see the Peter Jackson Get Back documentary in part 2, Preston met the Beatles when they were playing in Hamburg, where he was part of Little Richard's touring band. He met again when manager Brian Epstein organized the Liverpool show at which the Beatles opened. Now, Preston is one of several people referred to as the fifth Beatle. At one point during the Get Back sessions, John Lennon proposed the idea of having him join the band, to which Paul McCartney countered that it was difficult enough reaching agreements with four. Preston fit in right away. He played organ and electric piano for the Beatles during several of the Get Back sessions. Some of these sessions appeared to Phil Let It Be and is on his companion album. Preston also accompanied the band on electric piano for his rooftop concert, the group's final public appearance. together, of course. In April '69, their single "Get Back" was credited to the Beatles with Billy Preston, the only time an artist was credited as a co-performer with the Beatles after the band started recording as independent artists. The credit was bestowed by the Beatles to reflect the extent of Preston's presence on the track. His electric piano was prominent throughout, and he plays an extended solo. Preston also worked in a more limited role on the Abbey Road album, contributing organ to the tracks "I Want You, She's So Heavy," and "Something." In 1978, he appeared in Sgt. Pepper in Robert Stigwood's film Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which was based on the Beatles' album of the same name, and sang and danced to "Get Back" as the penultimate song. Now, eventually signed to the Beatles' Apple label, in '69, Preston released the album "That's the Way God Planned It," produced by Harrison, the title song from which was a hit single in Britain. His relationship with Harrison continued after the Beatles' breakup in 1970. He was also the first artist to record Harrison's subsequent international hit "My Sweet Lord" on his 1970 album "Encouraging Words," which Harrison co-produced with him. He appeared on several of Harrison's 1970 solo albums, starting with "All Things Must Pass," made up a notable contribution to Concert for Bangladesh, the Harrison-organized '71 charity benefit. He also performed with the ex-Beatle on his 1974 tour of North America, and played at the 2002 Concert for George tribute held in London's Royal Albert Hall. Preston also worked on solo releases by Lennon and, of course, Ringo Starr. In '71, Preston left Apple and signed with Herb Alpert's A&M Records. The previous year, he contributed another hit single when Stephen Stills asked to use Preston's phrase, "If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with," a song on Stills' self-titled debut solo album. Following release of "I Wrote a Simple Song" on A&M, Preston's solo's career peaked at this time, beginning with '72's "Out of Space," an instrumental track that further popularized the sound of the clavinet in folk music. The song reached number 2 on the Billboard charts and topped Billboard's R&B chart before going on to win the Grammy Award for Best Pop Instrumental Performance. The single sold over 1 million copies in America and was awarded a golden disc by the RIAA in June '72. Later that year, Preston contributed the title song to the hit blaxploitation film Slaughter, starring Jim Brown. Now, over the next 2 years, Preston followed up with the U.S. chart-topping singles with "A Go Around in Circles" and "Nothing from Nothing," and a number 4 hit "Space Race." Each of the 3 singles sold more than 1 million copies. American Bandstand host and executive producer Dick Clark enjoyed "Space Race" so much that he used the instrumental for the mid-show break for virtually the remainder of its run. Now, from 1970, Preston played keyboards, including many other what they call tabletop instruments for the Rolling Stones, sometimes alongside pianist Nicky Hopkins and Ian Stewart on their albums Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Goat's Head Soup, It's Only Rock and Roll, and Black and Blue. As the band's primary touring keyboardist from '73 to '77, he also performed as a support act with his own band, including former Rolling Stone Mick Taylor on guitar on their '73 European tour. Now, he was the first musical guest on Saturday Night Live's series premiere episode, and Preston's 1973 song "Do You Love Me" was the basis for the Rolling Stone track "Melody," released on Black and Blue in '76. Now, although 2 of the songs were included in the band's live sets, the Stones and Preston eventually parted company in '77, mainly due to a disagreement over money. He continued to play on solo records by Stones members like Mick Jagger's "Wandering Spirit," and made appearances on the band's "Tattoo You" and "Bridges to Babylon." Now, he eventually moved from A&M to Motown. In 1979, he duetted with Sarita Wright on the ballad Would You on Born Again, which was number 4 hit to the charts. However, Preston's career lost momentum in the 1980s due to his cocaine and alcohol addictions. He left Motown in '84 and focused on session work, contributing to artists such as Luther Vandross, Whitney Houston, and Patti LaBelle. He served as musical director for Nightlife, a late-night talk show hosted by David Brenner that lasted only 1 season in '86-'87. Now, Preston also toured with Eric Clapton, recorded with Gary Walker, one of the vocalists in his LA-based band, and worked with a wide range of other artists. He also toured with Ringo Starr, appearing on his 1990 live album. He was invited to become a member of the band in 91 after the death of the piano player Stan Sesles. He performed on tour with the group, but the sentencing for his cocaine and sexual assault charges in 91 ended the collaboration. Now in 97, Preston recorded the album You and I in Italy with the Italian band Novecento. The album was produced by Von Dispenza and Novecento members Lino and Pino Nicolosi. In 98, Preston played organ during the choir numbers on the UPN comedy show Good News. The same year, he sang and played synthesizer in the film Blues Brothers 2000 as part of the Louisiana Gator Boys supergroup. Now, on November 29, 2001, while touring and fighting with his own health problems, he received the news that George Harrison had died, having long suffered from throat cancer. Preston, along many of Harrison's longtime friends, performed in the 2002 concert for George at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and Preston's performance of My Sweet Lord received critical acclaim. Additionally, he sang Isn't It a Pity, providing also backing vocals on most of the other songs, and played the Hammond organ for the show. In 2002, Preston appeared on the Johnny Cash album America 4, The Man Comes Around, playing piano on Personal Jesus and Tear-Stained Letter. Now in 2004, Preston toured with the Funk Brothers and Steve Winwood in Europe, and then with Clapton in Europe and North America. After the Clapton tours, he went to France, where he was featured in one episode of the Legends Rock TV show. His performance included a duet with Sam Moore on You Are So Beautiful, and this was Preston's last film concert. In 2004, he performed as a jazz organist on Ray Charles's Genius Loves Company, an album of duets, and on the song Here We Go Again with Charles and Norah Jones. In March 2005, he appeared on the American Idol 4th season finale, playing piano. He performed with You On Board Again with Von Zeller-Solomon, who finished the contest in third. The same year recorded Go Where No One's Gone Before, the main title song for the anime series LR, licensed by Royalty. Now, Preston also played clavinet in the song Warlocks for the Red Hot Chili Peppers album Stadium Arcadium in 2006. Although very old by this point, he jumped out of his bed after hearing a tape of the song given him by the band, recorded his part, and went back to bed. Preston's final recorded contributions were the gospel tinge organ on the Neil Diamond album 12 Songs in 2005, and his keyboard work on the Road to Escondido by Eric Clapton and J.J. Cale. Now in late 2005, he made his last public performance in L.A. to publicize the re-release of the 72 documentary film The Concert for Bangladesh. He played a set of 3 Harrison songs, including Give Me Love, My Sweet Lord, and Isn't It a Pity, with Danny Harrison and Starr joining in guitar and drums, respectively, for the last song. Now, Preston was brought up again in the era of African-American gospel tradition. He was a committed Christian throughout his life, and he openly expressed his faith in works such as 1970's hit, That's the Way God Planned It. However, his personal beliefs were sometimes at odds with the attitudes and musical expressions of a secular world of rock and roll in which he often worked. Though he was apparently willing to put his religious views aside while working on tracks like John Lennon's openly atheistic song God, Preston was also deeply attached to his mother, for whom he wrote the song that became his best-known composition, You Are So Beautiful. Now, although the details did not become fully known to the general public until after his death, Preston struggled throughout his life to cope with his homosexuality and the lasting effects of the traumatic abuse he suffered as a boy. Although his sexual orientation became known to friends and associates in the music world, such as his good friend Keith Richards, Preston did not publicly come out as gay until just before he died, partly because he felt that it conflicted with his deeply held religious beliefs and his lifelong association with the church. In his autobiography, Life, Keith Richards mentioned Preston's struggles with his homosexuality. Now, in a 2010 BBC Radio 4 documentary on his life and career, Preston manager Joyce Moore revealed that after she'd been handling his affairs, Preston opened up to her about the lifelong trauma he had suffered as a result of being sexually abused as a child. Preston told Moore that at about the age of 9, after he and his mother moved to LA from Houston to perform in a touring production of Amos and Annie, he was repeatedly abused by the touring company's pianist. When Preston told his mother about the abuse, she did not believe him and failed to protect him. The abuse went on for an entire summer, and Preston was also later abused by a local pastor. Now, another traumatic incident, which reportedly affected Preston deeply, occurred in the early 1970s when he was engaged to actress model Kathy Silva. At this time, Preston had become close friends with musician Sly Stone and made many contributions to Stone's recordings of the period, including the landmark album There's a Riot Going On. According to Moore, Preston was devastated when he came home one day to find Stone in bed with Silva, who later famously married Stone on stage at Madison Square Garden. According to Moore, Silva's affair with Stone was a trigger that led Preston to stop having relationships with women. It was after this incident began using cocaine and having sex with men, and Moore had stated that she saw his drug abuse as his way of coping with the internal conflicts he felt about his sexual urges. Now, in 91, he did check into drug rehabilitation program to treat his addictions. Now, while on probation for a drunk driving conviction, Preston was arrested for sexually assaulting a 16-year-old Mexican boy after picking up at a gathering point for day laborers. The boy told authorities that Preston took him in his Malibu home, smoked cocaine, showed him pornographic pictures, and tried to assault him before he escaped. Preston was also charged with assault with a deadly weapon involving a man he picked up to do work at his home. The day before his arrest in the case the day before the arrest in the case involved the boy. After submitting to a drug test, Preston tested positive for cocaine. He entered no contest pleas to the cocaine and assault charges. The sex charges, which included misdemeanor charges of child molestation and exhibiting pornographic material to a minor, were dismissed. He was sentenced to 9 months at a drug rehabilitation center and 3 months of house arrest. In 92, Preston was sentenced to 30 days of jail for violating his probation on a drunk driving conviction. In 97, he was sentenced to 3 years in a California prison for cocaine possession in violation of his probation. He had been placed on 3 years probation earlier that year after testing positive for cocaine use. Now, under the terms, he agreed to spend 90 days in jail and to remain drug-free. Now, unfortunately, while in prison in 98, he was indicted for a $1 million insurance fraud scheme after setting fire to his own house in L.A. He pled guilty and agreed to testify against other defendants involved in the scam. His plea called for 5 years of probation, 1 year in jail, and $60,000 in restitution. The probation and jail time came concurrent with his cocaine conviction. At California's Avenal State Prison, Preston led a course and performed at church services. He served 18 months of his 4-year sentence, after which he apparently became drug-free. Now, Preston had suffered kidney disease in his later years, brought on by his hypertension. He did receive a kidney transplant in 2002, but his health continued to deteriorate. He had voluntarily entered a drug rehabilitation clinic in Malibu at the suggestion of guitarist Israel Bet and suffered pericarditis there, leading to respiratory failure that left him in a coma from November 21st, 2005. He eventually died 8 months later in Scottsdale, Arizona, June 6, 2006. Now, Preston's funeral was held June 21st, 2006. At the funeral, which lasted almost 3 hours, Joel Cocker sang, Little Richard reminisced, and a brass band played a string version of Amazing Grace. Other musical performers, including the Temptations lead vocalist Ali Woodson and singer Mary Clayton. A gospel choir, clad in bright red, sang throughout. The mourners also read letters written by Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, and others who had toured and recorded with Billy. He was eventually buried at Inglewood Park Cemetery in Inglewood. Now, he's been numerous tributes to Billy over the years. Miles Davis's 74 album, Get Up With It, features a track called Billy Preston in his honor. Ringo Starr, speaking during the rehearsals of the concert in Georgia in 2002, called Preston one of the greatest Hammond organ players of all time. In another interview, Starr said, Billy never puts his hands in the wrong place. Never. Now, Preston's song Nothing From Nothing was also featured on the soundtracks of 2003 Else and 2008's Be Kind Rewind. Now, in his introduction to the 2010 BBC radio program Billy Preston, That's the Way God Planned It, former Yes keyboardist Rick Wakeman said of Preston, every keyboard player I know loves Billy Preston. You can spot he's playing a mile off, whether it's the Hammond organ, the Fender Rhodes, or the piano. He had such a spiritual touch to his technique. It made him completely unique. Now, Preston was unfortunately among hundreds of artists whose material was destroyed in the unfortunate 2008 Universal Music fire. In 2021, White Horse Pictures and Homegrown Pictures announced that they were making a documentary on Preston to be directed by Paris Barclay. Now, Preston was nominated for 9 Grammy Awards and won 2, winning for Outer Space and a Grammy Award for Album of the Year for his participation in a concert for Bangladesh, which both came out. Awards were given in '73. He was inducted again in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021. Now, studio albums including 16-Year-Old Soul, The Most Exciting Organ Ever, Early Hits of '65, Wildest Organ in Town, Club Meeting, That's the Way God Planned It, Encouraging Words, I Wrote a Simple Song, Music in My Life, Everybody Loves Some Kind of Music, The Kids and Me, It's My Pleasure, Billy Preston, Billy's Bag, The Whole New Thing, Late at Night, Billy Preston, Serena, The Way I Am, Pressing On the Air, You Can't Keep a Good Man Down, Billy's Back, and You and I. And there was an EP called Billy Preston's Beatles Salute, which included Sgt. Pepper, I'm Looking Through, You Give Me Love, and Here, There, and Everywhere. Gospel albums, number Hymns Speak from the Organ, Gospel in My Soul, Behold, Universal Love, Ministry of Music, Words of Music, and Music from My Heart, and of course the live album tour from 1974 of Europe. Now, U.S. album charts, I Wrote a Simple Song was the highest charting up until The Kids and Me in 1974, and he was top 3 in the R&B charts when Everybody Likes Some Kind of Music, which actually was top 35 in Canada. Now, the big singles, of course, number 1 would Get Back in the U.S., Australia, Canada, UK. The top 40 with Don't Let Me Down, of course. That's the Way God Planned It was a top 11 hit in the UK. Outer Space, top 2 in the States. And a whole bunch of great hits after that, including Will It Go Around in Circles, Space Race, Nothing from Nothing, which of course hit number 1. With You I'm Born Again with Serena was one of several singles. She was top 4 That You, and he was a guest session performer for Sam Cooke, Little Richard, Ike Turner, the Beatles, George Harrison, John Lennon, Sly and the Family Stone, King Curtis, Aretha Franklin, Barbra Streisand, Ringo Starr, again Joe Cocker, Eric Clapton, the Luther Vandross, of course. And he co-wrote, of course, the great song Great Gosh Almighty, been a long time coming, with Little Richard for Down Up in Beverly Hills in '86. Did work again, Mick Jagger, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Michelle Negicello, again Richie Sambora, Fastball, Elton John, Ray Charles, Neil Diamond, and of course some Howard Hewitt towards the end of his career. So the idea about Preston's life on and off stage, sure, a lot of complications with his sexuality, but like I said, how much was it the drugs that really impaired, like, you know, his criminal acts back then? But for me, Billy Preston is all there in the music, because you listen to Get Back and you not only celebrate the Beatles, but the Beatles with the right backing, with the right support, like Billy Preston. But his work with Little Richard is very underrated as well. You should check it out, Great Gosh Almighty. There's a podcast about that already on our YouTube channel here. So Billy Preston, in relation, greatest gospel artist, he's up there. Is he the greatest keyboardist of all time? Well, it all depends. Are you looking at just a combination of factors? There's not too many better than him. And like I said, when I became a Beatles fan, I knew more about Billy Preston at the time than I knew about the rest of the Beatles. But again, what a life. And like I said, he had demons. We all have demons in life, especially people involved in entertainment. And I don't think he deliberately hurt anybody but himself. at times, and it happens. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our latest in our vintage music podcast on the great Billy Preston. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe. And as we like to say, get back to where you once belonged. That's what Billy liked to pass on to everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye.